I dropped my wife off at the airport, completely convinced it was just another ordinary business trip to Chicago. Just as I started pulling away from the curb, my 9-year-old son Ethan grabbed my sleeve from the back seat, his voice trembling with pure terror. "Dad, please, please don't go home tonight. I know something terrible about Mom. You have to believe me this time." I looked into his huge, frightened eyes in the rearview mirror and felt ice run straight down my spine, real fear pouring out of him like nothing I had ever seen before. In that single moment, I believed him completely, and we hid. What I witnessed next still wakes me up screaming years later. If you're watching this story, please subscribe to the channel, like button, and tell me in the comments where you're listening from. Thursday night, Portland International Airport. Rain hammering the windshield as I pulled up to departures. Jessica leaned over, gave me a quick kiss, and flashed her polished, professional smile. "Already parked my Toyota there yesterday for the prep meetings," she said, grabbing her carry-on. "So you've got the family SUV this weekend. Honey, see you Sunday morning. Love you. Love you too." I answered automatically as she disappeared through the sliding doors. Dark blazer, blonde ponytail swinging. Every inch the perfect executive heading to Illinois. Behind me, Ethan sat silent in his booster seat, fingers twisting the straps of his shark backpack. At 9 years old, my son was the watching type, the kid who noticed everything adults missed. I shifted into drive and merged into airport traffic, thinking this was just another routine Thursday drop-off, just another business trip. Just another normal night. Then Ethan lunged forward and gripped my forearm so hard I flinched. "Dad, we cannot go home tonight." His face was ghost white in the mirror, eyes too wide, hand shaking violently. "Please believe me this time." His voice cracked, and those two words sliced straight through me because he had warned me before. The strange dark van parked across the street 5 nights running. I had told him he was imagining things. The whispered phone calls at 2 in the morning he overheard. I had called them bad dreams and sent him back to bed. Now he was begging, trembling uncontrollably. Pure terror in his eyes. The kind that only comes when a child knows something evil is coming and no adult will listen. I was already on the ramp for I-205 North. 25 minutes to our house in Beaverton. The house with the green door and the huge cedar tree. The house that was supposed to be safe. But Ethan was shaking so hard the whole seat rattled. And I had been wrong before. I'm an engineer at Boeing. I calculate risk for a living. And in that moment, with rain drumming on the roof and my son's terrified hand on my arm, the math was brutally simple. Risk of believing him and being wrong. We waste one night. Risk of not believing him and being wrong. Something unspeakable happens. The equation wasn't even close, so I changed lanes without a word. "Okay, buddy," I said quietly. "I believe you." Ethan exhaled like he had been holding his breath for days. "You do, yeah. I do. And I'm so sorry I didn't listen before." He nodded fast, blinking back tears, instead of driving straight home to Beaverton. I took the turn that changed our lives forever. We parked in total darkness under tall maple trees 2 houses down from our own quiet street. The house I had spent 3 years designing. Every beam, every safety system, supposed to protect us. Hours crawled by slowly. Ethan finally dozed against the window while I watched our porch light. The green door, the cedar tree swaying gently. Everything looked perfectly normal. By 11:45, I started feeling ridiculous. "Maybe we should just go inside," I whispered. "Maybe you misheard something." Ethan woke instantly. "Wait, Dad, please, just a little longer." The desperation in his voice kept me frozen in place. Then I saw it. A dark van rolling down the street with its headlights off, creeping past the neighbors, then stopping right in front of our house. My heart hammered so hard I could hear it in my ears. Two men in black hoodies climbed out and moved like they had done this 100 times. No hesitation. Pure professionals. Who are they? I breathed. The bad people Mom talked to, Ethan whispered, voice tiny and shaking. They walked straight up our driveway like they owned it, and I expected them to kick the door or smash a window. So I reached for my phone to call 911. Then one of them pulled a key from his pocket. My house key, slid it into the lock. The deadbolt clicked softly, and they disappeared inside our home. How do they have a key? My voice cracked. Mom gave it to them, Ethan whispered. I heard her say she would leave it in an envelope under the big planter. There were only 3 keys in the world. Mine in the console, Jessica's supposedly in Chicago, and the spare locked in her office drawer. The office she always kept locked. My wife had handed strangers the key to the house where our son slept. Minutes later, flashlight beams swept the windows, methodical, searching every room. Then the sharp chemical smell hit me, accelerant, petroleum-based, unmistakable. Smoke curled from multiple windows at exactly the same time. Professional job, multiple ignition points. They had doused everything and disabled the smoke detectors. Orange flames exploded upward. Too fast. Way too perfect to be accidental. The 2 men walked out calm and unhurried, climbed back into the van, and vanished just as sirens screamed closer. Someone else had already called 911. I grabbed the burner phone from the glove box, dialed with shaking hands. Fire at 4512 Southwest Cedar Lane, fully engulfed, then hung up before they could ask questions. Fire trucks roared up the street. Firefighters jumping out, pulling hoses, shouting orders. But I knew they could never save it. 3 years of my life turned to ash in minutes. Ethan cried soft, broken sobs against my shoulder. I told you, Dad. I told you, and I pulled him close. You saved us, son. You saved our lives. If we had been sleeping inside, those men would have locked every door behind them. We would have had 90 seconds, maybe less. My 9-year-old boy had just saved us from being burned alive. While firefighters battled the flames, I watched my wife arrive at the scene she had paid to create. An Uber pulled up just after 12:15. Jessica stepped out, saw the inferno, and the performance began instantly. Oh God, my family, Martin, Ethan, she screamed, running toward the fire, collapsing dramatically against a police officer. The fire chief approached. Ma'am, the heat was extreme. We have not located any remains yet. And I saw the flash of pure fear cross her face when he said no bodies. I used Ethan's smartwatch to send her a text. Hey babe, grabbed late burgers with Ethan after all. Heading home soon. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down, and every drop of color drained from her face. Eyes wild, scanning the crowd, the shadows. Pure panic. She knew we were alive. I eased away from the curb with no headlights and disappeared into the night. Dad, why don't we tell the police? Ethan asked in a small voice. Because right now it's only our word against hers. She has the perfect airport alibi. We need proof first. Evidence like on the crime shows. Exactly, buddy. We checked into a cheap motel near the airport. Paid cash. Signed in as James Brown. Ethan asleep the second his head hit the pillow. I sat in the bathroom with the door closed and dialed the number my dying father had pressed into my hand 5 years earlier. Attorney Rebecca Thompson, Dad's old union friend. If you ever need help your wife can't trace, call her, he had said, voice weak from cancer. At 2:30 in the morning she answered on the second ring. Rebecca Thompson speaking. Miss Thompson, my father was Richard Carter. He gave me your card. He said if I ever needed real help. There was a pause, then a soft breath. Richard warned me this call might come. Tell me everything, Martin. Talk fast. I told her about Ethan's warning. The arsonists with the key. Hiding across the street, the fire, Jessica's performance. Do not go to the police yet, Rebecca said firmly. Meet me at my office tomorrow, 8:30 sharp. We need hard evidence that can't be explained away. At 3 in the morning, I left Ethan sleeping and drove back to long-term parking. Level 4, Section D. I found Jessica's silver Toyota Highlander, her perfume mixed with the faint smell of accelerant. Under the passenger seat, a burner phone. One contact saved as J, 15% battery. The text thread made me drop to my knees and vomit on the concrete. 6 days ago, Jessica. I can't keep living this lie. I want to be with you forever, Jordan. Then do it. Insurance money. Fresh start. 5 days ago, Jessica. I'm terrified something will go wrong. J. I found professionals. It will look like Martin's gas system failed. His own design. No one suspects an engineer's mistake. 4 days ago, Jessica. I got the $60,000 cash. J. Good girl. Leave the key under the planter Thursday night. 3 days ago, Jessica. What about Ethan? J. Collateral damage, babe. You want a new life or not? Jessica. You're right. No loose ends. Glove box receipt. 60,000 cash withdrawal. Jessica's signature. Center console. Airport locker key, 318 life insurance documents. Martin Carter, 3 million. Ethan Carter, 750,000. Sole beneficiary, Jessica Carter. Trunk. My own gas system blueprints covered in red circles. Her handwriting. Sabotage here. Make it look like design flaw. Blame the engineer. I photographed everything. Emailed copies to a new secure account. Took all the physical evidence. Dawn was breaking when I returned to the motel. By 9 o'clock Friday, I spread every piece across Rebecca Thompson's desk. Files stacked everywhere. Family law certificates on the walls. Photos of clients she had saved. She read the collateral damage text about Ethan and whispered, "This woman is a monster. It's strong, but a defense lawyer will claim the phone was planted. We need her voice confessing while she still thinks you're dead." Rebecca smiled coldly. "You're going to rise from the grave." An hour later, Detective Sarah Mitchell walked in. 50-something. Salt and pepper hair. Eyes that had seen too much evil. She reviewed every photo, every text, every blueprint. When she read a mother called her child collateral damage, her jaw locked like steel. "I have a daughter Ethan's age," she said quietly. "We will get her Martin, I promise." The plan was brutal and perfect. Saturday morning, 10 o'clock. Blue Moon Coffee in the Pearl District. Always packed. Cameras everywhere. Rebecca sent the bait text. "Mrs. Carter. Fire investigator Brooks. Remains recovered. Need to discuss identification and insurance claims. Meet tomorrow, 10 a.m. Blue Moon Coffee." Jessica replied instantly. "I'll be there. I need to know about my family." Saturday arrived cold and bright. I walked into the crowded coffee shop, wearing a wire under my Boeing jacket. Heart pounding so hard I was sure it would show on the recording. Undercover officers posed as baristas. Laptop guy. Couple by the window. Sarah in a van outside with live audio. At 10:02, the door opened. Jessica walked in. Black dress, minimal makeup, hair pulled back. The perfect grieving widow. She scanned for investigator Brooks and froze when she saw me alive. Face cycling through confusion. Recognition. Absolute horror. She walked toward me like a zombie and sank into the chair. "Martin," barely a whisper. "Hi, Jessica. Surprised to see me." She reached for my hands. I pulled back. The fire. They said no bodies. Because we weren't home. Ethan warned me. Our 9-year-old son saved our lives. Ethan heard you planning everything Thursday morning. We watched 2 men use a key you gave them to burn down our house. I slid the printed screenshots across the table. Found these in your Toyota. Level 4, Section D. She stared at the collateral damage text about our son, and the mask shattered completely. She laughed. Cold, bitter, empty of any humanity. You were always smarter than I gave you credit for, Martin. Why, Jessica? My voice broke. Just tell me why. She leaned in, voice low and venomous. Because I have been suffocating for 15 years in that perfect little prison you built. I married you because I was 30 and desperate. You were safe, stable, boring as hell, but safe. 10 years of IVF torture, $150,000 for a child I never actually wanted. I felt nothing when they handed him to me. Nothing. Then 6 months ago, I met Jordan at the gym and finally felt alive for the first time in 15 years. So you decided to murder us for insurance money. She shrugged like it was nothing. Jordan has gambling debts. We needed $4.2 million total. Your gas system was perfect irony. I studied your blueprints for months, learned exactly where to sabotage so it looked like your mistake, paid $60,000 cash for professionals, left the key under the planter Thursday night. And Ethan, another casual shrug. He was part of the package. Quick death in his sleep is kinder than growing up knowing his mother never loved him. Say it louder. I stood up, chair scraping loud. Say exactly what you did so everyone hears. She stood too, voice rising until the entire cafe went dead silent. Fine. I hired 2 men to burn the house with you and Ethan inside. I wanted the insurance money to disappear with Jordan. I studied your engineering to frame you. And yes, our son had to die too. That was always part of the plan. Detective Sarah Mitchell stepped forward. Badge raised. Jessica Carter, you are under arrest for attempted murder 2 counts. Conspiracy to commit murder. Arson. Insurance fraud. Officers surrounded her. Cuffs ready. As they dragged her away, she looked back one last time. And instead of rage or regret, I saw only relief. Pure relief that she no longer had to pretend. I hate you, Martin, she whispered. I know, I replied. You always did. I just refused to see it. The trial lasted 5 grueling weeks. The coffee shop recording played on repeat. Jessica's voice confessing every detail in front of the jury. Jordan took a plea deal. 25 years. Testified against her. The arsonists testified for reduced sentences. Guilty on every count. 30 years without parole. 2.5 years later, we built a new life in Bend. Smaller house, all electric. 1 story, no gas lines anywhere. I sold the Beaverton lot. Put the insurance money in trust for Ethan's future. Donated $200,000 to a children's trauma center. I left Boeing. Every blueprint gave me panic attacks. Now I teach engineering safety at Oregon State University. How systems fail when malicious actors exploit them. Ethan is 12 now. Taller, quieter, but he laughs again. Real laughs that light up the room. Nightmares once a month instead of every night. Therapy twice a week. 3 years and 4 months after the night Ethan saved us at the airport. I sit on our porch in Bend watching him shoot hoops with his best friend Noah. He jogs over, sweaty and grinning. Dad, can I spend the night at Noah's tomorrow? Text me the second you get there and the second you leave. Okay. He rolls his eyes. Dad, I'm 12, not 9 anymore. And I'm the father who almost lost you once. Humor me. He gives me a quick, fierce hug. Yeah. Thanks for believing me that night, Dad. My throat closes every time. Always, son. I will always believe you. That's why we're okay now. Jessica did not win. She tried to erase us for money, but we are still here, scarred. Changed forever. But alive. Healing. Moving forward. Every morning Ethan wakes up safe and loved is another morning we beat her. We carry deep scars. Yes. But we also carry the victory. And that victory is everything that matters. So listen to your children when they try to warn you. Trust your gut when something feels wrong for years. Pay attention to the tiny cracks before the whole house burns down. Because some fires start long before you ever smell the smoke. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments. By 8:30 the next morning, Rebecca Thompson's downtown Portland office looked like a war room ready for battle. Files stacked in towers, family law awards lining the walls, framed photos of clients she had pulled out of nightmares just like mine. I spread everything across her wide oak desk: the burner phone, the blueprints covered in Sarah's red circles and notes, the bank receipt, the insurance documents, the airport locker key, all of it laid out like evidence in a murder trial. Because that's exactly what it was. Rebecca studied each piece in complete silence, only the scratch of her pen on a legal pad breaking the quiet. When she finally reached the collateral damage text exchange, she let out a low, dangerous whistle and looked up at me with eyes that could cut steel. This is absolutely damning. Mason. But a defense attorney with half a brain will scream planted evidence. We need her own voice on tape admitting everything while she still believes you and Ethan are dead. 20 minutes later, Detective Marcus Hayes walked in. Tall African-American man in his mid-50s, salt and pepper hair. 30 years on the Portland force. Eyes that had seen every kind of human darkness, but still refused to look away. He listened to the entire story without once interrupting, then said quietly, "I've got a 13-year-old son at home, trying to burn your own child alive. That's a level of evil I will personally make sure she pays for. Count me in." Saturday morning, 10 o'clock sharp, a busy, crowded coffee shop in the Pearl District. Weekend regulars chatting over laptops, espresso machines hissing. The perfect public place. Rebecca sent the bait text from a blocked number she had set up as fire investigator Brooks Misses. "Martin, this is Investigator Brooks with the Portland Fire Bureau. Remains have been recovered from the residence on Northeast Cedar Ridge Drive. Need to discuss identification procedures and insurance claims process immediately. Can you meet at Marlowe Coffee in the Pearl District at 10 a.m.? The reply came in 9 seconds flat. "Yes, I'll be there. I need to know about my family." I arrived at 9:45 wearing the wire Detective Hayes had carefully taped under my shirt. Heart pounding so hard I was sure the microphone would pick it up as a drum solo. Undercover officers were everywhere. Barista behind the counter. Guy with the laptop in the corner. Young couple by the window. All part of Hayes' team. All ready. "Audio check 1-2, his calm voice said in my hidden earpiece. Loud and clear. "Martin, breathe, you've got this." At 10:04, the door opened and Sarah walked in wearing perfect, grieving widow black. Hair pulled back severely. Minimal makeup. Eyes red-rimmed for effect. Scanning the room for Investigator Brooks. Then her gaze locked on me, sitting alive and breathing at the corner table. And every single drop of blood drained from her face so fast, I thought she would collapse right there on the hardwood floor. She froze in the doorway. Someone behind her muttered "excuse me" and bumped into her. But she didn't move, didn't blink, mouth open in pure shock. "Mason." The word came out as barely a whisper, like she was seeing a ghost. "Hi, Sarah," I said quietly. Surprised to see me alive, she walked forward like her legs were made of wood, sank into the chair opposite me, reached for my hands with trembling fingers. I pulled back immediately. "The fire," she stammered, voice cracking. They said no bodies. No bodies because we weren't there," I answered, keeping my voice low and steady. "Ethan warned me. Our 9-year-old son saved our lives." Sarah, she tried every defense in the book. Confusion, tears welling up on cue, outrage that I would accuse her of anything. But I slid the printed text messages across the table one by one, watching her face crumble as she read her own words. "Your RAV4 talked. Sarah, every single word to Jackson, especially the part where you agreed our son was collateral damage. The mask shattered completely. Her face changed in a heartbeat. The woman I had loved and lived with for 16 years vanished, replaced by a cold, calculating stranger wearing her skin. She laughed then, bitter, ugly, completely devoid of humor, a sound that turned heads all over the coffee shop. "Fine," she spat, leaning forward, voice low and venomous. "You want the truth. Mason, I have been suffocating for 16 years in that perfect little prison you designed. I married you because I was 30, and my biological clock was screaming, and all my friends had babies, and you were safe, stable, and boring as hell. The perfect provider. 10 years of IVF hell. $150,000 in needles and hormones and failures for a kid I never actually wanted. I played the perfect mother, but inside, I was dead. Completely hollow. Then 6 months ago, Jackson saw me. Really saw me. Made me feel alive for the first time since college. Made me feel wanted. Desired. Not just a wife appliance. He has gambling debts. Yes. We needed money. $4 million total once the policies paid out. Your precious gas system was poetic justice. I studied those blueprints every single night while you were buried in your Boeing reports. I knew exactly where to tell them to sabotage so it would look 100% like your mistake. And Ethan, she actually shrugged. A cold, casual shrug. He would have been a lifelong anchor dragging me back to you and your boring, predictable life. Quick and painless in his sleep was kinder than dragging him through years of therapy and resentment and forced visits. Collateral damage is the accurate term. Jackson wrote it, but I agreed completely. "Say it louder," I told her, voice shaking with rage and grief. "Say exactly what you did so everyone in this room can hear the truth." The entire coffee shop had gone dead silent. Every customer, every barista staring. She stood up screaming, voice rising until it echoed off the walls. "I paid 2 men $70,000 cash to burn my house down with my husband and my son inside. I wanted the insurance money. I wanted them dead, so I could start over with Jackson in Mexico, with $4 million and no more pretending." Detective Marcus Hayes stepped forward, badge raised high for everyone to see. "Sarah Martin, you are under arrest for attempted murder in the first degree, conspiracy to commit murder, arson for hire, and insurance fraud. Jackson flipped this morning for a 25-year plea deal. Says it was all your idea from the beginning. Already gave us the arsonists' names and addresses." As they cuffed her right there in the middle of the coffee shop, she looked back at me one last time. And the strangest thing of all was the relief flooding her eyes. Pure relief that the 16-year performance was finally, mercifully over. "I hate you, Mason," she whispered as they led her away. "I always did." "I know," I answered quietly. "I just never saw it until now." The trial lasted 6 long weeks in a packed Multnomah County courtroom. The coffee shop recording played over and over for the jury. Sarah's voice ice-cold and unemotional as she confessed every detail in front of dozens of strangers. Jackson testified against her to save his own skin. The 2 arsonists testified for reduced sentences. I took the stand for 3 full days and told the entire world how my 9-year-old son saved our lives because he overheard his own mother planning our murder while she thought he was asleep. Guilty on all counts. Attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, arson for hire, insurance fraud, 35 years in prison with no parole for the first 18. When the verdict was read, Ethan, now 10 years old and a little taller, a little quieter, squeezed my hand outside the courthouse in the spring sunshine and whispered so only I could hear. Good. 2.5 years later, we live in a small 1-story ranch house on the edge of Bend, Oregon, all electric. No gas lines anywhere on the property. No possible way for fire to be weaponized again. I sold the Gresham lot, put every penny of the insurance money that finally came through into a college trust for Ethan, and donated $250,000 to a children's trauma center in Portland that specializes in kids who have survived the unthinkable. I left structural engineering behind forever. Every blueprint, every line of piping triggered panic attacks that left me on the floor. Now I teach failure analysis and safety design at Oregon State University. My students call me intense and demanding. They have no idea why I push them so hard to consider malicious use cases. Ethan is 12 going on 13, plays basketball like his life depends on it, has real friends who know nothing about what happened, laughs loud and genuine from his belly again. Nightmares come only once every few months now, instead of every night. Therapy is down to once a month, and getting better all the time. He wants to design bridges someday. Things that connect people, Dad, not houses that burn. Some nights he still checks the locks twice, walks the perimeter of the house with a flashlight like a tiny security guard. But it's quiet habit now, not terror. 5 months ago, a letter arrived from Coffee Creek Correctional Facility. Thick envelope, Sarah's handwriting on the front. He took it out to the back porch, read it alone in the sunset, then quietly fed it page by page into the fire pit without a single word to me. I never asked what it said. Some things a kid has to handle on his own. What haunts me is not the fire itself, not the men with the key walking calmly into my house, not even the trial or hearing her confession played on repeat. What haunts me is knowing I shared my bed, my life, my future for 16 years with someone who saw me and our son as nothing more than obstacles to remove for money. Every happy memory is poisoned now. Every photo, every vacation, every Christmas morning. Was her smile on our wedding day real or just relief at locking down a provider with a good job and good insurance? Did she ever feel real joy holding newborn Ethan in the hospital? Or was he already calculated as a future burden in her mind? Those questions have no answers, and they will follow me for the rest of my life like ghosts that never quite leave the room. But we survived. We are healing. We are moving forward one day at a time. Ethan rides his bike down our quiet Bend street, shouting laughter into the clean mountain air. And every single day he comes home safe, loved, and whole as another day we win against the woman who tried to erase us. My 9-year-old warned me about his mother that rainy night at the airport, and because I finally listened when it mattered most, we are still here breathing, living, laughing, healing. That is the only victory that matters. Listen to your children when they try to warn you. Trust your gut when something feels wrong. Pay attention to the small cracks before the entire system collapses and takes everything you love with it. Some stories are meant to scare you awake. This one is mine, and I will carry it forever. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share your impressions of this story in the comments.